Pay no attention to the peanut gallery sitting behind me that you can't see. He came in and killed my buzz. So anyway, today is the day. Today is the day that Whovians everywhere have been waiting for, anxiously sitting on the edge of their seats, because every single Doctor Who page on Facebook has been posting these little, 100 days to go until the 50th anniversary. Well, it's here. It is upon us. And tonight, at 7 o'clock, my Whovian friends, yes, I will be planted in front of that. Well, you can't see it, but if you've seen any of my other videos where there's daylight in the house, the 73-inch sitting behind me, watching Doctor Who in all of its glory. So, why am I talking about Doctor Who? Well, because it's 50 years old today, and it's just an amazing show, and if you haven't watched it, turn on Netflix right now and start watching it. Today on BBC America, one thing that I was totally geeking out about is when I was able to go ahead in my guide to set it up to record the show, because I don't know if I'll actually be sitting there at 7 o'clock because I don't like commercials. So I'll probably let like a half an hour, 45 minutes of the show record, and then I will go to start watching it then, so I can fast forward. But I was going through the guide, and I realized that today on BBC America they are marathoning the entire season 7, all of it. So for those of you who was able to watch part 1 on Netflix, you can now watch part 2. And that was pretty cool. So I was really excited about that because now I'll get to see part 2 of season 7, which is awesome. Now, another amazing, interesting fact is I have been a longtime fan of Torchwood. And just recently this year, it's been this year, right? This year, got into Doctor Who. Yeah, I know, like, right. But I don't know why. Don't ask me why. Netflix will be like, oh, because you watch Star Trek, which I love Star Trek. You might like this. Okay, so what am I watching? No, I don't think I'm gonna watch that. So I would keep just scrolling by Doctor Who, and the thing is I never really thought it was anything I would personally get into because it kind of, from the description, sounded really cheesy and stupid, which is weird because BBC has some of the best shows on ever. They really do. So my friend, she knows who she is, geeks out hardcore over Doctor Who for months and months and months and months, and I'm just like being bombarded with all this Doctor Who stuff from her, which I gotta tell you, I love. I love that, because anytime that you love something and you can be passionate about it and you can share it with the world, that's great, and she should just keep doing that because that's awesome. So she's geeking out over it, and finally one day I was just like, you know what, okay fine, I'm bored, I have nothing on Netflix to watch because they took South Park off Netflix. Thanks a lot, Comedy Central. Just saying. And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna watch Doctor Who. So I started off with the reboot in 2005, and well, Chris was the Doctor, Chris Eccleston. And like right from the first episode, I see Chris Eccleston, and I didn't know who he was by his name, but when he spoke, I was like, oh, dude, I know that guy. And I'm like, where do I know him from? Because he just had that really familiar face and the way he talked and, his mannerisms. And it dawned on me. Hit me. I was like, I know where I know him. I don't know if any of you have even seen this movie. If you haven't, you're like, I don't know what the hell's wrong with you, but he was in the movie with Nicolas Cage and Angelina Jolie, Gone in 60 Seconds, and he actually played Raymond Calicio. So when I saw him, I knew him because I love that movie, Gone in 60 Seconds. And I was like, now I was not made aware of this whole, regeneration thing until I had actually started watching the first episode. And I'll be honest, with the first episode, I really didn't think that it was a show that I was going to get into. And I thought we were going to have, Christopher Eccleston for a while. And when I got to the end of that season, I was like, and he, of course, had to regenerate. I was like, great, new Doctor. This is going to get old. You know what I mean? So, you start in with, the second season of the reboot, and David Tennant, from the word go, for a moment there, you thought, there's no way the show could, you can't do... How many years have you been doing this and people are still watching it? How do you do that? So David Tennant finally wakes up and he steps out of the TARDIS and He's like, did you miss me? And he's in pajamas and stuff. And I was like, oh my god. And then one line, he spins around to Rosie. He's like, how do I look? I'm like, from that moment on, I'm like, oh my god, I love this guy. So we get a lot of David Tennant. And then when he has to regenerate, and he actually regenerates into Matt Smith, the 11th Doctor, I was really bummed. I didn't want to lose David. I really didn't. He was great as the Doctor and has become my Doctor, because most Whovians will pick one Doctor that they really like, and that would be David for me. But because I'm faithful to the Doctor, not the actor, I continue on, thinking this is, you know. So the first few episodes with Matt, we're thinking, yeah, this guy's kind of wacky and out there, but actually he brought a lot to that character that I didn't expect. So I think Matt Smith did a really good job. And I think Matt with the pawns was a really good mesh of characters there, because it really gave a good dynamic to the show. That's why tonight's episode, or tonight's showing of the 50th anniversary special is so special, because we get David and Matt together as doctors. So, and they're also bringing back another doctor from back in the day. I think, is it Tom Baker? I think Tom Baker's being brought back. Don't quote me. But I think that's who they're bringing back to also join them as one of the doctors. There was a lot of talk about them not having older doctors. Well, it kind of makes sense, because the reboot is what really relaunched the show. So they're going to have the doctors that people know, and we only had Chris for one season. So while he is still a doctor and we still know him, David and Matt have been there for longer for the reboot. So it made sense to have both of them. I'm a little bit bummed that they're not bringing back Captain Jack. I really think Captain Jack Harkness needs to be brought back in, at least in some capacity. Because I love that Captain Jack from Torchwood is in Doctor Who, and was in Doctor Who before Torchwood. And I love his character. I love John Barrowman anyway. He's just an awesome guy. Awesome guy. And I love that character, and I think that character needs to be brought back in. And I'm so anxious to see what else they put into this, and how many other characters that we know and have watched, and how many of those are going to come back, and what they're going to do with it. So really excited for tonight. And I live on the East Coast, so it's on at 7 here on BBC America. And so if you have the opportunity, you should sit down and watch it. In about 5 minutes here, I'm going to turn on my TV and start watching the season 7 of Doctor Who, and bring myself back up to speed, although I remember it like I watched it yesterday. Anyway, that is my Doctor Who video, and I will probably do a video review of it afterwards, so stay tuned for that. Say goodbye, Nathan. And yeah.